Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot, following routines, achieving goals, maintaining relationships, but with an inexplicable emptiness pressing on your chest? Carl Jung called this living someone else's life, when we follow scripts we didn't write, playing characters we never chose to be. There's a precise moment when this changes. It doesn't come like a dramatic thunder or a mystical revelation. It's more subtle. You wake up and realize that the conversations that once filled your days now feel hollow. The goals you once pursued with conviction begin to show their fragility. And a persistent question starts to echo. Why am I doing this? Who am I really living for? Jung described this moment as the beginning of the individuation process, when the psyche finally rebels against the social mask you've been wearing for years. It's not depression, though it may feel like it. It's not a crisis, though it's disorienting. It's the silent awakening of your true identity, pushing through the layers of conditioning that imprison you. And the most disturbing part, no one around you notices yet. You keep fulfilling obligations, smiling at the expected moments, replying to messages, but inside, something fundamental has shifted, and there's no going back. Existentialist philosophers called this the calling. Heidegger spoke about the moment when a human being is torn from their automatic life and confronted with their own existence. You stop merely existing and begin to question the meaning of that existence. And here's the first sign awakened people notice. Life begins to test you. They're not coincidences. That recurring argument with your partner, that work problem that resurfaces in a different form but with the same essence, that feeling of being stuck in a cycle. These are all signs. Life isn't punishing you. It's calling you to fully wake up. Because true awakening isn't comfortable. It doesn't arrive like a gift wrapped in golden paper. It comes as a series of challenges that force you to choose. Will you keep sleeping, pretending everything's fine, following the script you were taught? Or will you face the uncomfortable truth that you need to change? Most people, when they feel this awakening, get scared. And it's understandable, because waking up means taking full responsibility for your life. It means stopping the blame on circumstances, parents, society, destiny. It means looking in the mirror and recognizing, I am the only one responsible for who I've become and who I will become. But you, who are watching this now, you've already felt it, that restlessness that won't let you be at peace. That discomfort that persists even when everything seems fine on the surface. This is your calling, and the more you ignore it, the louder it gets. The tests don't just show up once, they repeat and repeat, and keep repeating until you finally learn the lesson. Have you noticed how you always end up involved with the same type of person? Different partners, different faces, different stories, but deep down, the same dynamic, the same pain, the same predictable ending. Or, at work, you change jobs thinking the problem was your previous boss, the toxic company, the jealous colleagues. But then, at the new place, after a few months, you realize you're living exactly the same situation. Different actors, same script. Carl Jung had a name for this: repetition, compulsion. It's the unconscious tendency we have to recreate the same traumatic situations, the same destructive patterns, over and over. And we do this not out of masochism, but because there's something there we need to learn. The universe isn't being cruel to you, it's being persistent. Think of it this way. Imagine you're in school and need to pass a test to move up a grade. You take the test and fail. The next year, the same test appears in front of you. You fail again and again and again. The test doesn't change because you haven't learned the lesson. Life works exactly like that. That person who betrayed you, they weren't the first, and if you don't understand the pattern, they won't be the last. Because the problem isn't the person. The problem is what in you attracts, tolerates, and perpetuates that kind of relationship. Maybe it's your need for approval. Maybe it's the fear of being alone. Maybe it's the unconscious belief that you don't deserve anything better. That project that always fails at the same point. It's not bad luck. It's you sabotaging your own success because, deep down, there's a fear of reaching what you say you want. Fear of responsibility. Fear of disappointment. Fear of discovering that even at the top, you still feel empty. Awakened people notice this pattern. They stop blaming the outside world and start looking inward. And when you finally have the courage to face your own demons, something extraordinary happens. The pattern breaks. But understand this, recognizing the pattern is just the first step. True transformation requires that you do things differently, and doing things differently hurts. It means refusing that relationship that feels so familiar, so comfortable, even though you know it's toxic. It means facing your insecurities instead of seeking external validation. It means sitting with discomfort and not running from it. Repetition is the test, and you keep failing not because you're weak or incapable, but because you still haven't learned the lesson life is desperately trying to teach you. Every time the pattern repeats, life is saying, look here, pay attention. This is important. You need to see this. And when you finally see, when you finally understand and act differently, the test stops showing up. Not because it magically disappears, but because you've evolved beyond it. Then you start to drift away. It's not planned, it's not dramatic. You simply realize that those people you always used to hang out with no longer make sense. The conversations feel superficial, the laughter feels forced, and that sense of belonging you once had, it's just gone. You don't hate these people. Nothing terrible happened. But when you're around them, it feels like you're wearing clothes that no longer fit. Tight, uncomfortable. You catch yourself thinking, what am I doing here? And the distancing begins. You decline invitations. You reply to messages less often. You stop sharing how you really feel because you know they won't understand. And slowly, almost without noticing, you find yourself alone. That's scary. Loneliness scares most people. We've been conditioned to believe that being alone means something is wrong with us. That successful, happy people are always surrounded by others. But there's a stark difference between loneliness and necessary isolation. Nietzsche understood this deeply. He spoke about the solitude of those who are transforming. When you're evolving, when you're becoming someone new, you need to step away from the influences that kept you being who you were. It's impossible to build a new version of yourself if you're still surrounded by the same people who only know and reinforce the old version. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It needs to isolate. It needs to break free from what no longer serves. And during that process, it's vulnerable. But it's the only way to grow. You who are going through this now know exactly what I'm talking about. That childhood friend who doesn't call anymore. That group you used to hang out with every weekend and now avoid. It's not that you've become arrogant or superior. It's that your frequency has changed. And those who don't vibrate at the same frequency simply no longer resonate. But here's the hard part. People around you will interpret this as rejection. They'll say you've changed, that you're not the same anymore. And they're right. You're not the same. And that's exactly the point. They'll try to pull you back, with guilt, with emotional manipulation. You're acting weird. You think you're better than us now. Remember when you used to be more fun. And those words will hurt because part of you still wants to be accepted, still wants to belong. But belonging to the past means giving up the future. The isolation isn't permanent. It's a phase. It's the cocoon before the butterfly. It's the silence before the new song. During this period, you are doing something most people will never have the courage to do. You are truly getting to know yourself, without the social masks, without the performances you created to be loved and accepted. And yes, it's lonely. Some days you will feel completely lost. You'll question whether you're doing the right thing. You'll look at social media and see everyone seemingly happy, surrounded by friends, and wonder, why am I here, alone? Because you're being tested. Tested to see if you have the strength to stay true to your transformation even when everything inside you screams to go back to the comfortable, the familiar, the safe. And then comes the worst part. You look in the mirror and don't recognize who's looking back. Everything you thought you were, everything you used to say about yourself, begins to crumble. Your certainties turn to dust. Your convictions reveal themselves to be fragile. And that identity you so carefully built over the years simply collapses. I'm a responsible person. Are you really? Or did you just follow the script handed to you because you were afraid to disappoint? I'm successful, according to whom? By what metric? And is that success really yours, or are you living someone else's dream? I know who I am. Do you really? This is the most brutal test of all. The identity crisis. And when you're in the middle of it, it feels like you're dying. Because, in a way, you are. The person you thought you were is dying so that someone more authentic can be born. Jean-Paul Sartre had a concept for this. Bad faith. It's when you live pretending to be something you're not. Playing a role, following a script written by society, family, friends. You convince yourself so deeply of this performance that you forget that's all it ever was, a performance. Until one day the mask cracks, and you realize you've spent years, maybe decades, being someone you're not. It's terrifying, because if you're not who you thought you were, then who are you? If everything you believed about yourself was a lie, what's left? At first, nothing. Just a void, just absence. And most people can't stand this void. They run back to the old identity, even knowing it's false, because the familiar falsehood is less frightening than the true unknown. But you, who are going through this now, you feel different. You can't go back anymore. The mask has cracked so much it no longer fits. And as painful, confusing, and disorienting as it is, a part of you knows this is necessary. Think of an old and unstable house. You can try to fix it up, patch the walls, paint over the cracks, change the furniture, but if the foundation is compromised, the only real solution is to demolish and rebuild. That's what's happening to you. Your old identity had a false foundation, built on external expectations, unresolved fears, childhood traumas, the need for approval. Now that foundation is being destroyed. And yes, during demolition, everything feels like chaos. Debris everywhere. Nothing makes sense. You no longer know what you want, what you like, who you are. People ask you simple questions, and you have no answer. What do you want to do with your life? I don't know anymore. What's your dream? I'm not sure it was ever really mine. What makes you happy? I'm discovering that everything I thought made me happy was just a distraction. This brutal honesty with yourself is the psychological death that Sartre and other existentialists spoke of. It's the moment when you stop running from your own freedom and responsibility. Because while you're hiding behind a fixed identity, you can blame that identity for your choices. I did it because that's just how I am. I can't change. it's who I am. I was born this way. But when the identity collapses, you realize the devastating and liberating truth at the same time. You are nothing fixed. You are pure possibility. And that means every moment, every choice, every action is entirely your responsibility. No more excuses. No more character to play. There's only you, raw and exposed, having to decide who you're going to be from now on. And that's the death that precedes every true rebirth. Along with this identity breakdown, something else happens. You begin to feel things you can't explain. You walk into a room and immediately sense something is off, even if everyone's smiling. Someone tells you everything's fine, and you feel deep in your chest that it's a lie. You don't need proof. You just know. Your intuition becomes sharp like a blade. Before, you ignored these signs. That knot in your stomach when you met someone new. That inner voice whispering, "Be careful," when everything seemed perfect. You thought you were being paranoid, overreacting, that you should give the benefit of the doubt. And how many times did you regret not listening? But now it's different. Now you notice the micro expressions on people's faces. The shift in tone for a fraction of a second. The energy that changes when you walk into a space. You pick up on hidden intentions, unspoken agendas, the truths no one dares to say out loud. And this isn't a mystical gift. It's not a supernatural power. It's simply that you stopped repressing your instincts. You spent years being conditioned to trust logic more than intuition, people's words more than what your body was screaming. But when you awaken, you reconnect with that ancient wisdom that was always within you. Schopenhauer spoke of this. He said there is a reality beyond the veil of appearances, beyond what the eyes can see and reason can prove. And some people can perceive this deeper reality, not because they're special, but because they're attentive, because they stopped getting distracted. You sense when someone is lying, not by what they say, but by the energy they carry. You feel when a place is heavy with untold stories, even if it looks beautiful and welcoming. You recognize when an opportunity that seems too good to be true really is too good to be true. Have you ever trusted someone who seemed perfect and deeply regretted it? Everyone around saying how lucky you were, how amazing this person was. But you, deep down, feeling that unnamed discomfort. And then, months or years later, the truth comes out and you think, I knew it. I always knew. That's amplified sensitivity. But here's the problem. The more you perceive, the lonelier you become. Because most people live on the surface. They believe in masks, in pretty speeches, in social performances. And when you try to warn them, when you say that person isn't trustworthy or that place isn't safe, they look at you as if you're crazy. You're overreacting. You're being negative. Why don't you trust people? And you learn, painfully, to stay quiet, to keep your perceptions to yourself. Because explaining the unexplainable is impossible. How do you tell someone that you felt something when that something has no shape, no proof, no logic? But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're seeing a layer of reality that most people still can't access. And yes, that's isolating. Because you watch the people you love walk straight into traps that you can clearly see, and there's nothing you can do but watch. You become a silent observer. You see the power plays hidden in casual conversations. You see the emotional manipulations disguised as care. You see the toxic dynamics everyone pretends not to notice. And carrying this knowledge, seeing what others don't, tease a heavy burden. Because now you can't pretend anymore. You can't participate in collective illusions. And every social interaction becomes exhausting, because you're constantly perceiving far more than what's being said. This sensitivity isn't a curse. It's a survival tool. It's protection. It's life equipping you with what you need to navigate the next level of your journey. But using this tool means accepting that you'll no longer fit into the world of appearances. And when you truly begin to change, when you start acting differently, thinking differently, questioning what was always accepted as normal, something unexpected happens. The people closest to you start to resist. Not openly, not directly, but you feel it. That friend who always supported you suddenly makes subtle comments about how you've changed. Your family, who should encourage you, starts planting doubt. Are you sure about this? Wasn't it better before? Why can't you just be normal? And the resistance comes disguised as concern. They say they're trying to protect you, that they're on your side. But what's really happening is that your transformation deeply unsettles them, because when you change, you hold up a mirror to them. Your courage to evolve exposes their cowardice to remain stagnant. Your willingness to question everything forces them to confront the lies they tell themselves. And that hurts. It's much easier to convince you to go back to who you were than to face their own shadows. Sartre called this bad faith in others. People prefer that you keep playing the role you always played so they don't have to question their own roles. Your awakening threatens the entire system of beliefs and behaviors that support their comfortable reality. You decide to stop drinking, and that group of friends starts pressuring you. One beer won't hurt. You've gotten boring. Just loosen up. They're not worried about you. They're worried because your sobriety calls into question their functional alcoholism. You decide to quit that draining job, and your family panics. You're throwing everything away. Think about stability. What if it goes wrong? They're not protecting you. They're projecting their own fears, their own prison, their own resignation. You leave a toxic relationship and half the people around you judge you. You two were so good together. No one's perfect. You're being selfish. They don't know the hell you are living. They only know that your courage to leave exposes their cowardice to stay. And here's the most painful part. Often, the sabotage comes from the people you love most. Parents who should celebrate your growth but feel threatened by your independence. Partners who should support you but prefer to keep you small so they don't feel insecure. Friends who should cheer for you but secretly hope you fail to validate their mediocre choices. This is the hardest social test, because you have to choose between belonging and evolving, between pleasing others and being true to yourself, between conditional love and authentic solitude. The pressure is immense. You start doubting yourself. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm the problem? What if I really am being selfish? And for a moment, you consider giving up, going back, apologizing for daring to grow. But then you remember, the same people sabotaging you now are the ones who used to complain about your old self. When you were lost, they said, you need to change. Now that you're changing, they say, you've changed too much. The truth is, they don't want you to change. They want you to remain in a comfortable and predictable version of yourself that doesn't challenge them. And you realize that their resistance has nothing to do with you. It's about them, about their own fears, their own limitations, their refusal to evolve. You are simply the mirror reflecting back everything they don't want to see. So you're faced with a brutal choice. Keep growing and lose some people along the way, or stop growing to keep those people close. And when you finally choose yourself, when you keep going despite the resistance, something extraordinary happens. The wrong people naturally drift away, and the right people, those who vibrate on the same frequency, start to appear. But what happens when you make it through all of this? When you survive the tests, when you stay strong despite the resistance, when you embrace solitude and transformation, what comes after the psychological death? Rebirth. You don't go back to who you were. That's impossible. You become something entirely new. Someone who carries the wisdom of the journey, the scars of the battle, the clarity that only comes from having walked through your own personal hell and come out the other side. And this new version of you no longer fits into the boxes the world created, no longer conforms to the patterns that once imprisoned you. You've developed something rare, true authenticity. Not the Instagram version of authenticity, filled with pretty quotes and posed selfies, but the raw, honest, uncomfortable kind of authenticity that comes from knowing your shadows and integrating them. People notice. Even if you say nothing, they feel there's something different about you, a presence, a solidity, a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. You carry a quiet certainty of someone who knows exactly who they are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. And 2026 brings something interesting. We're entering a collective moment where more and more people are waking up simultaneously. The old structures are collapsing. The collective lies are being exposed. And those who have done the inner work, who have passed the tests, who have undergone the transformation, will be prepared for what's coming. Not as messianic leaders or enlightened gurus, but as beacons, as people who have been in the dark and know the way back, as living examples that it is possible to go through psychological death and emerge more whole than before. You will no longer be a hostage to your emotions because you've learned to observe them without identifying with them. You will no longer be manipulated by others' expectations because you've built an unshakable internal compass. You won't need external validation anymore because you've found something much more powerful, your own. And your relationships change completely. You attract different people. No longer those who wanted to use you or keep you small, but those who recognize and respect your journey. Real connections, deep ones, built on mutual truth, not on need or convenience. Your intuition, which sharpened during the process, is now your most reliable ally. You make decisions with stunning clarity, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust your ability to navigate uncertainty. Remember that silent awakening we mentioned at the beginning? That subtle sense that something was changing, but you didn't have a name for it. Now you know exactly what it was. It was the call. It was life summoning you to this transformation. And you answered. You passed the test of repetition and broke the patterns. You went through the necessary isolation and found yourself. You survived the collapse of your identity and were reborn more true. You developed amplified sensitivity and learned to trust it. You faced the world's resistance and chose to evolve anyway. Each test was an initiation. Each pain was a purification. Each loss was a hidden gain. And now you're on the other side, carrying something no university teaches and no diploma certifies. Wisdom earned through the direct experience of dying and being reborn. Think of a seed buried in the darkness of the soil. It has to completely fall apart, lose its original form, so that something new can sprout. During this underground process, no one sees it, no one applauds, no one recognizes the miracle happening in the dark. But when it finally breaks through the surface and reaches the light, it's no longer a seed. It's something infinitely greater. You are that plant that made it through the darkness, and 2026 is the light you finally reached. The world needs awakened people now more than ever. Not to save anyone, but to remind others that transformation is possible, that awakening is real, that there is life after psychological death. The journey never ends. But you are no longer lost. You are exactly where you need to be. If you enjoyed this content and want to explore more about life's deeper questions, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone else who's also among the awakened.